Who are the Insurgents? In the world of Outriders, we will face many enemies and destroy many foes. One of those enemies is the military faction labeled the Insurgents by the Enoch Colonization Authority, and in this video, I will tell you everything that I know about the group. You want info? I got answers. Let's begin. First question, what do they want? I think this is the most basic question, and honestly, the most important one. For a lot of people who play games, they might not really care about what stands on the other side of their crosshairs, as long as it's satisfying to kill and rewards them, but for some people, knowing the motivation of their enemy really can help to bring the world to life, and overall, it just makes the gaming experience more immersive. I know I'm one of those people, and hey, maybe you are as well. This is the answer. The Insurgents just want to survive. That's it. There's a lot of hatred towards the ECA, sure, but at the end of the day, this is a war for resources. The unfortunate truth is that on Enoch, there is never enough to go around, and so both the Insurgents and the ECA are trying to wipe each other out in order to keep or take each other's resources. To conclude this question, I need to make one thing crystal clear. There is no option for peace. There is no future where cohabitation exists. There is only so much life-sustaining resources on Enoch, and the long-term survival of both groups requires the absolute destruction of the other. This is a war for survival, and only the strongest will survive. Next question is, where did the insurgent movement come from? To answer that question isn't too difficult, but we don't have all the info, only the general concept. If you played the prologue to the Outriders demo, which, I'm assuming you have if you're watching this video, then you'll know that during the events of the prologue, while you're doing everything, the colony ship is still in orbit. Now, at some stage, the ship either landed or crashed, and what is now known as the first city began being built nearby. I gotta say this, since the full game isn't out yet, I just don't have all the info, but what I do know is that the ship was used to power the city. I would make the guesstimation that Shira, the other Outriders, and anyone else who was on the ground before the ship landed began building the city. Fast forward a bit and we have the ship on the ground with a small population building a city nearby. What is the significance of this? Well, while Shira and everyone with her were working on, I'm guessing, the city, you had over 500,000 people still in cryosleep, and the ship was the only thing big enough to hold that many people, which is why I'm mentioning the first city, since that's where the ship is. Shira and her group quickly realized how hard it was to survive on Enoch, and they were faced with an extremely difficult decision: what to do about everyone who is still in cryosleep. There was one group of people who stated that if all those people were brought back, there just wouldn't be enough resources to sustain them, and that the lives of everyone would be put at risk. This group believed that the only way anyone could survive on Enoch was for those in cryosleep to die. The idea was that the cryostations would get turned off, and everyone would just peacefully die in their sleep. However, there were others who just wouldn't see all those people die, and they argued that they had to try and make it work. Shira was part of this group, and in the end, her group's decision was chosen, and everyone was brought back. And it's at this point, everything just went to crap. It just all fell apart. The first pillar of the colony's foundation to fall was its leadership. Now, the leaders of humanity in Enoch, that had already been established since way back on Earth. Shira and the Outriders, they were just supposed to scout ahead before the ship would land and everyone would wake up. Instead, they got the anomaly, most of the Outriders dead, Maxwell dead, a hostile planet with hostile wildlife, and a girl who was never supposed to have been on the ship in the first place in charge. Shira refused to give up her leadership, and this makes sense because she actually had experience trying to survive on Enoch, as opposed to these other guys that had been trained to deal with the best case scenario, which clearly didn't happen. So Shira refused to give up her position, and when the people who were supposed to be in charge had enough, they tried to take her down. and this resulted in their bodies being hanged in front of everyone, and everyone being divided as to who should be in charge. This general unrest, combined with the lack of food and supplies, the severe rationing, this caused the structure of society in the first city to completely fall apart. There were riots and violence, and it got to the stage where the ECA decided to ditch the city and just try again. This second attempt at civilization is Rift Town, which is the hub of the demo. Now, what does any of this have to do with the Insurgents? Well, although Rift Town was being set up, there was a very decent chunk of people still in the first city. I don't know how many people were there, but again, if I had to guess, I would say it was at least over 100k. We have this large number of people who have pretty much no resources and who are living in a half-finished city that is falling apart, and you get the Exiles. The Exiles are a movement and a faction of people that rapidly gained support of everyone in the first city, and their motivation was what I just said. Go to Rift Town, kill everyone there, take their stuff, survive. So within a few months of the ECA setting up Rift Town, you had the people in the dead city that were supposed to be dead roll up to Rift Town and start killing people. These people are fighting against the ECA, and they weren't supposed to be doing that, so the ECA labeled these fighters as the Insurgents. As we say it in Irish, Shinné. That's it. Next question. Who's winning? I think that's a fair question, so I'll answer that to the best of my ability. This war has been going on for over 30 years, and it's because of only one reason: the Altered. When the Exiles, or the Insurgents, name you use depends on what side you're on, first attacked the ECA, they were failing miserably. Even if they had the numbers, which I can't confirm, that hasn't been confirmed yet, they didn't have the equipment or the resources to successfully beat the ECA defenses or to sustain their assault. The ECA realized this, and so they just went with Plan A, which was kill them all. What got in the way of that were the storms. The storms in this game are powered by the anomaly, so if they don't kill you, they change you. Since the Insurgents were far more exposed to the storms than the ECA, the Insurgents were the only ones at the start anyway who had people become altered. And of course, the Altered changed everything. As soon as the ECA saw the Altered, they immediately tried to backpedal and make peace with the Insurgents, and at that stage, the Insurgents realized they could actually win now. So to the ECA, they were simply like, peace was never an option, right? That's how you get a 30-year war. For all their strength, the Altered were either too insane or just not enough to finish the job, because for 30 years, the ECA have been able to hold the line. The ECA would also get their own Altered in time, the strongest being Seth, who is one of the most powerful Altered around. So to answer the question, I'd say the Insurgents are winning, but they aren't strong enough to finish the war, so it's a bit of a stalemate. Alright, you know the motivations behind the Insurgents, you know how they came to be, and you know how they are faring in the war. Now I will tell you about their characteristics as well as what type of units exist in their army. Characteristics wise, there's really not much to say. They are brutal, and I mean brutal. Every day these guys find a baby is barbecue day. That's all I'm gonna say. They are bloodthirsty, and they show no mercy. The war has been going on for so long that you have Insurgents being born who don't even know how the war started. There is only the enemy. The Insurgents used to be led by normal humans, but as soon as the Altered came to be, they immediately took over. The insane Altered, like what you see with Seth, they have the highest positions. Think anyone at Gauss's power level and up. Anyone altered under that is what you see in the captains. They look normal enough in comparison to say Seth or Gauss, but they have their own cute little power tricks that they will use. Beneath the captains, we have the marksmen. The marksmen are the most accurate amongst the Insurgents and engage in long distance combat. They are very talented at identifying high value targets and are skilled at blending into their environment. After them are the breachers. Breachers are heavily armored and use a pump shotgun called a trench sweeper. they will attempt to get as close as possible to an enemy in order to inflict the highest levels of damage possible. They have several grenades attached to their belt, with one being attached to a deadman switch, so when they die, a grenade will activate and it will blow up, in the hopes it'll kill whoever killed them. There are the cutthroats, who bind themselves with cords to restrict their blood flow. This is so that if they're very close to you and you fatally injure them, they will have enough time to kill you before they die from blood loss. Which is a bit insane, but I guess it kind of makes sense. They will only use melee weapons, and they will relentlessly charge towards their enemy. Not only are they not afraid of death, but they want to be martyrs, so yeah, they are fairly dangerous. Finally, the last unit that is available to us is the Rifleman. According to the lore, the requirement for becoming a Rifleman is simply having a heartbeat, so I'm assuming a large portion of the Insurgent population are Riflemen. They have pretty much no armor because they're very much expendable, so they have to fight smart if they want to survive. They will keep their distance from a dangerous target, probably medium range, and they will try to flank them whenever possible. They also have grenades that they will use. This intelligent combat style, combined with the use of their grenades, makes the Rifleman the most versatile of the basic Insurgent units. Now again, this is just from the demo. If you look at the lore, you can actually see that there are other Insurgent units that we just don't have available at the moment, so, you know, in time, if you're interested, when that comes out, I can go through that. But yeah, that is pretty much everything you need to know. If you're wondering who Gauss was and where he fit into everything, you know, with the Insurgents, I have a whole video dedicated to him, so go check that out. I also want to take this time to thank everyone for the amazing support the Fall of Earth video got. Seriously, I am new to YouTube, but I have never had a video consistently grow like that. Every morning, I wake up to someone new subscribing, or encouraging me in the comments, and it really makes my day, so rest assured, I hear you. You want lore? I will become the lore master of this game and get it into your hands. I promise. My name's Venextron, and I thank you for your time. Take care, my friends.